Anyway, this next one is DOD versus possession.
Oh,
yeah,
DOD.
This person is assuming it's DOD, dissociative.
Department of Defense.
Yeah, that's the one. It's from it's existential one, and he says, or she says, I witnessed a 12-year-old boy likely experiencing dissociative identity disorder, transition between personalities. Every muscle in his face changed, his voice changed, his eyes changed in dilation and patterns of movement. The voice was unearthly and sinister. He began threatening to hurt his primary personality and everyone in the room. It was genuinely terrifying. I share this because at the time I was much younger and believed it was a supernatural possession type occurrence, and I am here to posit that maybe it was.
No.
Tell me, okay, from a scientific, you're Mr. Bill Nye yourself, right? From a scientific standpoint, tell me how, if you have a personality disorder of some kind, how can your muscles, all the muscles in your face shift, and all this thing, like your entire voice changes over? How does all that happen in a natural world, like that is run by science and was run by your brain or explanations or anything? Like, just explain to me how that happens naturally.
That's exactly what happens. It's been proven over and over again.
That's not, no, you can't say that's exactly what happens. Like, explain it to me.
You can go on YouTube and watch this exact thing happening. It's just, we're in control of everything. We just don't necessarily believe it. So that's why we kind of just drift through lives. But our mind is pretty powerful. It could change the way you speak. It could change the way your muscles are set.
Does that seem more likely than some kind of spiritual entity taking over?
Oh yeah, it's totally more likely.
How is it more like?
Here's why. Because
there's so much evidence for spiritual entities, possession, like takeovers, walk-ins, all this shit. You're telling me that it's more likely that my brain is saying, hey, shift this muscle around a little bit because I know exactly what this guy should look like.
First off,
should sound like.
There is no real good evidence for anything paranormal. That's why we have this podcast, because the evidence, if it was just settled, it would be a boring podcast, right? So there's no real good evidence for that. But you can touch a certain part of your brain when you're doing brain surgery and trigger your face to move in different ways.
How often am I doing brain surgery on my own brain, Christian?
It's not that. It's if you can touch these regions, then just the way of thinking or the way your mind works can touch those regions and control them.
Then why wouldn't an entity of some sort be able to access that? If it's easy for us to do it, why wouldn't an entity be able to, that is like assume all knowledgeable, all knowing, and is understanding the way the human mind and body works? Why wouldn't something be able to possess you in that very same manner by being like, I know if I take over this region of the brain, that he's mine?
First off, there would have to be an entity, an approvable entity, which we don't have real evidence of that yet.
I think
stuff that you can use as evidence. I mean, a lot of people believe it, and some people are credible, but there's no way to prove that. And also, it depends on how old this paranormal thing is. Like, if it's from the 1700s, they think the way to control you is to bleed you, get rid of your sickness. They're not going to know about touching parts of your brain.
Paranormal entities that have been roaming the plane of existence from the beginning of time, I think they might understand it a little more than we do.
If they're roaming the plane of existence since the beginning of time, they're not the smartest, because they would move on.
But see, okay, I could explain this all to you, but it's going to take a lot more than this video's got in it.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, how to explain the scientific to you.
I think you could explain the scientific, but I think you can't.
I think you've been led to distrust all science.
No, that's so far from the truth.
Since you were a child.
By what? By what? Say it. What has led me to disbelieve science?
I'll let the people out there